Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something pretty crucial today, India's public services.
The backbone of how the nation runs.
Exactly. Whether you're a UPSC aspirant aiming for those top-tier roles or just curious about how India really works, this is for you.
Absolutely. We often hear IAS officer or IFS officer, but what do those even mean? How's it all structured?
Yeah, today we're breaking down the three main categories: all India's services, central services, and state services.
Their history, how you get recruited, the whole nine yards.
Let's start with those all India services, the elite, right?
You could say that. What makes them unique is they serve both the central government and individual states.
So someone in the IAS, the Indian Administrative Service, could be posted anywhere.
Exactly. 1 year, rural development in one state, next year, shaping national policy at a ministry. It's a wild ride.
I've also heard about this cadre system. What is that exactly?
Good question. When you join an All India service, you get a state cadre, your home base.
Okay, so even if you're on deputation with the center, you'll eventually go back to that state.
You got it. Bringing all that experience with you. It's designed to give you roots, but also a national perspective.
So how did this system even come about?
Well, it is evolved from the British Raj, actually. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, they call him the father of all India services.
He saw how important it was for a newly independent nation.
A unified system for a unified India.
That history is fascinating. But let's move on to the central services. Where do they fit in?
Central services work directly under the central government.
So like the IFS, the Indian Foreign Service?
Exactly. Think of them as the gears that keep the central government running.
If you join the IFS, you're a career diplomat representing India on the world stage.
You got it. And while it's technically a central service, the IFS has huge prestige up there with the All India services.
Right, because they shape foreign policy, build relationships with other countries. That's high-stakes stuff.
Absolutely. And there's a whole hierarchy within these services, Group A, Group B, and so on.
I've heard about that. It's not class-based anymore, right?
Nope, it's group-based now. A to D, Group A being the most senior.
A more egalitarian structure.
That's the idea.
So whether it's drafting treaties or managing a crucial program, the central services have their hands full.
Definitely diverse. Now, on to the state services, the foundation of each state's governance.
I'm guessing there's a state civil service, like a mini IAS for each state.
You got it. They handle everything from law and order to education and healthcare. It's all on their shoulders.
And is the state civil service the most prestigious among the state services?
Often, yes. They implement state-level policies, diverse responsibilities, the whole shebang.
Wow, so many services, levels. How do people keep track?
It is complex, but that's why we're doing this deep dive, to make sense of it all, especially if you're aiming for the services yourself.
Now, what about this gazetted and non-gazetted thing? Is it just a fancy title?
More than that, gazetted means your appointment, transfer, everything is officially published in the government gazette.
Public record, so to speak.
Exactly. Usually applies to Group A and B officers, a formal recognition of their authority.
While non-gazetted officers are still crucial, they just don't have that public announcement.
Both are vital. They work together to keep the whole system going.
Like a well-oiled machine. So are there practical implications to being gazetted, like special powers?
Yeah, they often have privileges and authority that non-gazetted officers don't. Attesting documents, issuing certificates, sometimes even conducting investigations.
Makes sense. More responsibility needs more authority to get things done.
But it's important to remember, every public servant, no matter their designation, serves the nation.
Very true. Now let's get into something every UPSC aspirant is thinking about: recruitment.
The gateway to most all India and many central services is the Civil Services Examination, run by the UPSC.
The infamous UPSC exam. It's known for being super tough, right?
It is. It's a 3-stage process to find the best and brightest. A real test of dedication and perseverance.
First stage is the preliminary exam, right?
Yep. 2 objective papers, general studies, and the Civil Services Aptitude Test.
Only those who clear that get to move on.
To the main event, the mains examination.
9 papers. That's intense.
Essays, general studies, optional subjects, even language proficiency, it's all encompassing.
Sounds grueling, but clearing the mains must feel incredible.
Definitely an achievement. But then comes the final hurdle, the personality test, the interview.
Not just about what you know, but who you are.
Exactly. They assess your personality, leadership, communication skills. Are you fit for public service?
So you can't just be a walking encyclopedia.
You got to have the heart for it, too. The UPSC wants well-rounded individuals ready to take on the challenges of this job with integrity.
It's a testament to anyone who goes through this process.
Absolutely. Not for the faint of heart, but for those who succeed, it's the start of an incredible journey.
A journey of service, contributing to India's growth, making a difference.
And that's what makes it all worthwhile. Now let's delve a bit deeper into what it actually means to serve the nation.
Especially within India's unique system of governance. This is where the Constitution comes in, right?
You got it. It lays the groundwork for how everything functions. Powers, responsibilities, safeguards for both the government and the public servants.
Articles 308 to 314, a whole section dedicated to public services.
Shows you how important it was to the framers of the Constitution.
Article 309 is interesting. Parliament and state legislatures can regulate recruitment and service conditions.
Meaning how you get hired, promoted, disciplined, all that, it's ultimately decided by elected representatives.
That's key. The bureaucracy is answerable to the people.
A system of checks and balances.
And Article 310 deals with the doctrine of pleasure. Public servants hold office at the pleasure of the president or governor.
They can be dismissed.
Doesn't that give a lot of power to the executive?
It does, which is where Article 311 steps in. It protects civil servants from being arbitrarily dismissed.
So it balances the government's need for accountability with the civil servant's right to due process.
Precisely. It says you can't be dismissed by someone lower in rank than whoever appointed you.
Prevents random officials from just booting their superiors.
Right. And, most importantly, you can't be dismissed, removed, or demoted without a proper inquiry.
You have to be informed of the charges, given a chance to defend yourself, the whole 9 yards.
It's about fairness. Decisions based on evidence, not personal vendettas or politics.
Are there any exceptions to this rule?
A few. Criminal convictions, national security threats, but the principle of a fair hearing is there.
A crucial safeguard, especially in a complex democracy like India.
Absolutely. It reflects how important it is to protect civil servants so they can actually serve the nation effectively.
These constitutional safeguards are fascinating.
They really are. It shows the delicate balance between power and individual rights in public service.
Something we'll keep exploring as we go deeper into this world of Indian bureaucracy and governance.
Definitely a lot more to uncover.
These constitutional safeguards are crucial, especially in a system as complex as India's. But shifting gears a bit, we've talked about all India services and central services. What about Article 312? That deals with creating new All India services, right?
Article 312, yeah. Think of it like a doorway to expanding the All India Services framework. It gives that power to Parliament, but it's not a simple process.
So how does it work? Sounds like more than just a regular vote.
It needs a special resolution passed by the Rajya Sabha, the upper house, and it needs a 2/3 majority.
A high bar to clear. What's the reason for that?
It's all about protecting India's federal structure, the balance between the center and the states. Remember, All India Services work for both.
Right. So giving the Rajya Sabha, which represents the states, this power ensures they have a say.
Exactly. Prevents the center from just imposing new services that might step on the state's toes.
Smart. Checks and balances built right into the system.
Shows you the foresight of those who wrote the Constitution. They knew the importance of that balance, especially for a diverse nation like India.
So, any examples of services that have been talked about for this provision?
One that comes up a lot is the idea of an all-India judicial service. It's been debated for years.
That would be a big change.
Yeah.
What are the arguments for and against it?
People who support it say it would make the judicial system more uniform, more efficient across the whole country.
Makes sense. Attract talent from everywhere, streamline things.
Right. But then those who are against it worry about judicial independence.
Ah, would it threaten that?
That's their concern. And they also worry about representation. Would a centralized system ignore the unique needs of different states?
It is a complex issue with a lot of potential consequences.
No easy answers there. But it shows how these discussions about India's public services are always ongoing. How to find that balance between efficiency, representation, and accountability.
Like a constantly evolving puzzle.
You could say that. But beyond the structure, let's think about the people in these roles. What challenges do public servants face in modern India?
It's a tough job, I imagine. What does it take to thrive in that environment?
You need resilience, adaptability, definitely integrity, and a deep commitment to public service. You're going to face bureaucratic hurdles, political pressures, limited resources.
All while upholding those ethical standards.
Exactly. It's demanding, long hours, criticism from all sides. You got to have a strong sense of purpose to get through it.
Not just skills and knowledge, but the right mindset.
Absolutely. And you got to keep learning, adapting to new situations, finding creative solutions.
Public service is constantly changing, especially with technology and rising citizen expectations.
You hit the nail on the head. Technology has completely changed how services are delivered.
Online portals, data analytics, it's a whole new world.
And public servants need to be tech savvy, use those tools effectively.
Not just pushing papers anymore.
Right. Plus, with social media, there's more accountability than ever before.
Public servants have to be responsive, manage perceptions, all in the digital age.
It's about efficiency AD, building trust with citizens.
Two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. Public service in the 21st century, you're a facilitator, a communicator, a problem solver, all rolled into one.
It's both a challenge and an incredible opportunity.
Could have said it better myself. It requires dedication, resilience, constant learning, but the rewards are huge.
Speaking of rewards, we've talked about the tough stuff. What are the most fulfilling parts of a career in public service?
Often, it's not the tangible things. It's knowing you're part of something bigger, something that makes a real difference.
Like helping to develop a policy that improves millions of lives.
Exactly. Or seeing a government program succeed in a remote village. Those are the moments that stay with you.
Knowing your efforts contribute to something bigger than yourself.
To the well-being of the nation. It's about upholding justice, fairness, knowing your work, no matter how small, builds a better future for India.
A powerful motivator. But let's be real. Public service isn't always glamorous. It's paperwork, red tape, tedious tasks.
That's part of the deal, for sure. It's not about instant gratification. It's about patience, perseverance, working within a system.
And seeing the long-term impact.
Absolutely. It's that deep commitment to serving the nation, even when it's frustrating.
Knowing that true fulfillment comes from making a positive impact no matter what.
That's it. And that brings us to the core of what it means to be a public servant in India, serving the people, upholding the Constitution, working for a better tomorrow.
It's calling, requiring integrity, compassion, dedication to justice.
And being part of something larger than yourself, something that goes beyond personal ambition.
It's inspiring to think about all those who choose this path.
It really is. And for anyone listening who's thinking about it, my advice is this. Be clear on why you want this. Is it power, prestige, or a genuine desire to serve?
Because that motivation is what will get you through the tough times.
Without a doubt. It's a marathon, not a sprint. The UPSC exam needs sustained effort, discipline, a smart strategy.
Don't get overwhelmed by the sheer amount of material to cover.
Break it down, focus on understanding, practice consistently.
Work smarter, not just harder.
Exactly. And once you're in, be ready to learn, adapt, and unlearn. The real learning happens on the ground.
So stay humble, be open to new things.
And be willing to work with all kinds of people. Integrity is key too.
It's about holding yourself to the highest standards.
You'll be entrusted with a lot of responsibility, face ethical dilemmas, stay true to your values.
Wise words. Serve with integrity. Put the nation first.
Always. We've covered so much in this deep dive, the different services, the constitutional stuff, the challenges, the rewards.
And it all comes back to that motivation. Why is that so crucial, especially for India's public services?
Because India is vast, diverse, with so many complex challenges. Public servants have a lot of power. Their decisions affect millions of lives.
They need that genuine desire to serve, to make things better.
Absolutely. It's not just about being a good administrator. It's about empathy, understanding what people are going through, and finding solutions.
Being a problem solver, a bridge builder, advocating for those who need it.
That's what it's all about. Using your position to empower people, promote social justice, build a more equitable society.
A powerful image. A public servant as a force for good.
It's something to strive for. The journey's tough, but the rewards are huge. To serve the nation, contribute to its growth, make a real difference that's fulfilling.
A legacy of service, not just personal gain.
You said it. And for anyone out there who's listening and thinking about this path, remember, even a 1,000-mile journey starts with a single step. If you've got the passion, the dedication, the belief that you can make a difference, take that step and see where it leads you.
That's a great note to end on. We've reached the end of our deep dive into India's public services, a legacy that truly matters. It's been quite a journey unpacking all of this, but I think we've given our listeners a good overview.
Hopefully they have a better sense of what these services are all about, how they work, the whole picture.
Now, if someone is listening and thinking, this is for me, I want to serve, what advice would you give them as they start down this path?
Good question. I think the first thing is be really honest with yourself about your WHY. Why civil services? Is it the power, the prestige, or is it that genuine desire to serve?
Because that motivation is what's going to carry you through the tough times.
You got it. It's a long, demanding road. It's not for everyone, and it all starts with the UPSC exam, one of the toughest in the world.
So any tips for tackling that beast?
Well, first off, remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You need a plan, a strategy.
Don't try to cram everything in at the last minute.
Exactly. Consistent effort, discipline, that's key. And don't get bogged down by the sheer amount of material.
It can be overwhelming.
Break it down into manageable chunks. Focus on understanding the concepts, not just memorizing facts.
And practice, practice, practice.
Can't emphasize that enough. But then, even if you ace the exam, the real learning starts when you're actually in the service.
What should someone be prepared for once they're in the field?
Be ready to learn, unlearn, adapt. It's a constant process. Stay humble. Be open to new experiences.
And you'll be working with all kinds of people.
From all walks of life, different backgrounds, different perspectives. It's enriching.
But challenging, too, I'm sure.
For sure. But that's where integrity comes in. You'll have a lot of responsibility, face tough choices.
Decisions that affect people's lives.
Absolutely. So hold yourself to the highest standards of honesty, transparency.
Don't compromise those values no matter what.
Couldn't agree more. It's about putting the nation's interests first.
Serving with integrity.
Exactly. We've explored so much in this deep dive, the structure, the Constitution, the challenges, the rewards.
And you brought it back to that core motivation. Why is that so important, especially in the context of India's public services?
Because these services touch every aspect of life in India. It's a vast country, diverse, facing all sorts of complex issues.
And public servants are the ones who have to navigate that, make decisions that impact millions.
Their choices matter. And to do that well, you need more than just skills. You need that heart for service, that empathy.
To understand what people are going through and actually want to make things better.
Yeah, that's the driving force. It's about being a problem solver, a bridge builder, someone who speaks up for those who don't have a voice.
Using your position to empower others, promote justice, build a more equitable society.
Now you're getting it. It's not about personal gain. It's about something much bigger than yourself.
A vision of a better India.
That's worth striving for, even when it's hard. The journey might be tough, but those moments where you see you've made a difference, those are priceless.
Yeah, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
And for anyone listening who's inspired by this, who feels that call to serve, remember, even the longest journey starts with a single step. If you have the passion, the dedication, that belief that you can make a difference, take that step. You never know where it might lead.
Powerful words to end on. We've reached the end of our deep dive into India's public services. We hope you found it insightful, maybe even inspiring.
It's a complex world, but it's also incredibly important.
And ultimately, the future of India depends not just on those in high office, but on all the dedicated individuals working every day to make a difference. So keep exploring, keep learning, and maybe, just maybe, consider joining the ranks of those who serve.
We need passionate, committed people. Who knows, maybe one of our listeners today will be shaping India's future tomorrow.
That's a great thought. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds curious.